let's get started. So I'm Devin McGuire, Product Marketing Manager at Cycode. Thrilled to be joined by Crystal Morin, Senior Cybersecurity Strategist at Sysdig, for this session on unmasking shadow AI across the enterprise, how to regain control from code to cloud. Crystal, great to have you. Please, if you could introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Thanks, Devin. So I'm Crystal Morin, Senior Cybersecurity Strategist. I started my career a little over a decade ago in the US Air Force. I was an Arabic translator. After that whole part of my career, I transitioned from counterterrorism to cyber threats, tracking nation states, and e-crime. That's kind of when I joined Sysdig on the threat research team first. And now for the last 2 years, I've gotten to speak about all kinds of security topics, vulnerabilities and breaches when they happen, and write lots of reports.
Awesome. Well, great to have you with us. Talking about the topic of shadow AI. AI is everywhere. Adoption's everywhere. Visibility gaps maybe emerging. But before we kind of dive into the issues of AI governance and adoption, really let's just start by defining shadow AI and why it's spreading inside enterprises. Would love to get your thoughts on this.
So shadow AI, similar to shadow IT from some time ago, unapproved, unmonitored AI tools specifically, or models, AI-powered assistants, or browser extensions too. They don't have awareness, governance, or approval from the organization's security team. That's what shadow AI is.
All right, so yeah, shadow, obviously a term that's been used for shadow IT, shadow APIs, etc. Is this just the same, applying that term to AI? Are there nuances and differences?
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty much the same in my opinion. Shadow IT is the larger sector that I think shadow AI falls under. That is our IT systems applications, which AI falls under. Cloud services, it runs the whole gambit of things that exist that the security team doesn't know about.
All right, makes sense. All right, now thinking about how shadow AI actually happens in the real world. Do you have any real world examples of shadow AI that you can share? And maybe some reasons why shadow AI happens, warning signs that it might be in your organization, and some of the issues that can emerge from having shadow AI.
Yeah, so we do this annual report at Sysdig. It's called the Cloud Native Security and Usage Report. And we take a look at how our customers are working in the cloud, what they're doing, and what does their security look like in their cloud environments. And we kind of pull some statistics from that and put it on this big, huge report at the beginning of the year. So at the beginning of this year, in 2025, that report stated that we saw a 500% growth in the number of AI and ML workloads or packages running in workloads from 2024 to 2025. And yes, we do include machine learning packages as well. Obviously very similar to AI, but not exactly the same thing, right? That's how we do automation and things like that. But we kind of bucket those things together when we're looking at this. Still, I would say the majority of that 500% was probably AI and not ML, because we've been working with machine learning for a long time. So that was the beginning of this year. 6 months later, I wrote another report and decided to look at those numbers again. And we actually saw a 25% reduction in the number of packages present in workloads. So shadow AI, I think, came out in the news like late 2024 or 2025. So it made sense that we saw that massive growth because everybody's talking about it, everybody's implementing AI. So we're realizing that there's things that we don't have visibility over. And then 6 months later, okay, we've been talking about shadow AI and this visibility issue for 6 to 12 months now. So organizations are starting to remove the shadow AI, or at least find and secure it. Unmanaged deployments of AI models, and consolidate their AI practices into well-maintained libraries. There's a lot of AI stuff out there that everybody's pulling from. On Hugging Face and whatnot, there's, I mean, probably millions of different AI models that you could use at this point. And we're seeing those not secure ones go away, and they're consolidating their efforts into well-managed by vendors or well-known open source projects and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to see the 500% growth. So obviously, I mean, a lot of things motivating adoption, but now starting to see governance and security and kind of a control over that. Still seems like there's a big gap, and so curious why. I mean, it seems like there's some obvious reasons that AI adoption outpace security oversight, but curious, like, what do you think are the top reasons that that gap really grew initially?
I think it's part of it's the social pressure, right? I mean, especially in the tech industry where we are, you feel that pressure to need to adopt AI for business operations, for improving productivity, and to show that your company is innovative, right? You're using AI, so you must be doing something right. So I think that pressure has a lot to do with it. And then from that, it's the non-technical or non-security focused employees who are using browser-based AI extensions, or have AI capabilities in some of these tools that they're using regularly. If they don't report it to IT or security, then they're not necessarily aware that these things are being used in their environment, putting in proprietary information or sensitive information, things like that.
Yeah, I think that awareness piece is key, because, you know, if they're not reporting it, really it's a big visibility challenge. And so Cycode, today we published our state of product security for the AI error report. We can get into that in a little bit, but that was kind of one of the big things. Was there's pretty much universal adoption. Every organization said they had AI generated code in their code base. 97% said they're actively using or piloting. So there is that 3% who, like, they're not using or piloting, but they even say, yes, absolutely, developers are using AI tools, as AI generated code, AI models, etc. That contrasts with, you know, a lack of visibility. And so if they're not reporting it, how do you know? And yeah, curious if that's kind of consistent with what you're seeing at Sysdig.
Yeah, absolutely. And these tools are free, right? A lot of them are easily accessible. AI was being used some years ago, but once ChatGPT broke out into the broader media, it was like 2-3 years ago now. I think it was 2022 or 23. We just saw this absolute explosion, and everybody wants to try it in marketing and sales. It's helping them write things or be more creative. And it's hard to get a grasp on all of that usage. Yeah,
it is shocking to think of. It seems like GPT-3, I think it was, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 years ago. It feels like a lot longer. That's all I know. But yeah, it's definitely changed everything. So yeah, thinking about kind of managing AI risks, getting visibility, etc. You know, at Cycode, we're definitely thinking about this. You know, we launched our AI inventory, AI bill of materials, really thinking about this from a SDLC perspective. So how do we, you know, find evidence of AI models within code, looking at things like MCP servers, use of AI coding assistants, and really visibility being the foundation for having policies that you can actually enforce. I think you need like kind of those 3 things: you know, visibility, policies to say what's allowed or disallowed, and then kind of controls in place to actually know if someone's violating this policy. How do we flag that violation and know who to go to remediate it? But you know, our world's very SDLC centric, code centric. Really want to get your perspective on kind of Sysdig's approach to AI visibility and how you're tackling this today.
So, I mean, what you said, the inventory and visibility, I think, is the most important thing, and that's where you should be starting. Unfortunately, you can't rely on all of your employees to email you when they pick up a new AI tool, and they might not even realize that some browser extension or some tool that they're already using, like Salesforce, has AI capabilities built in. So they may not even be aware that they're using AI, but it's there, right? So we take a similar approach as well. Find those AI packages that are running in production. That's how I get that data that I presented earlier too, especially when they're paired with workloads that are vulnerable or misconfigured, or if you have public exposure to the internet as well. Earlier this year, our threat research team reported on an attack. It was on an open source AI tool that the victim was using, and they had it publicly exposed to the internet, which isn't a risk in and of itself because you publicly expose APIs so your customers and users can connect to them, right? So their AI tool was publicly exposed, and the attacker found this misconfiguration in their tool and was able to download AI-generated malware to connect into their environment. So it's kind of AI on both sides of that attack.
Yeah.
I believe he ended up installing crypto miners. That's what the attack ended up being at the end. But that just highlights the importance of knowing where those AI packages exist and making sure that they're not paired with any kind of vulnerabilities.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're going to start to see more and more of these kind of exploits and attacks. I think, attackers are going to shift their attention to that. And so, yeah, absolutely having, an inventory of AI materials. I know things like, AI bill of materials to understand what's in your ecosystem. That's becoming something that people are talking about. Curious what Sysdig, if anything, what you're doing with AI bomb, et cetera.
Yeah, so we have been prioritizing SBOMs for our customers, and we actually have a report that I wrote coming out hopefully next week about AI bombs. And what it does, AI bombs are useful for, again, finding and building that inventory. Where do you have AI and what is it? An AI model isn't very complex in all reality. It's really built on Kubernetes, containerized workloads, the same kind of things that we're used to defending to begin with. So we wrote this paper that describes every aspect of an AI model and kind of how they work together and where your risks lie within an AI model in your environment. So it's pretty cool. And then with that too, understanding where your AI is and then using runtime and build policies for threat detection, I think are very important. That will help you identify, again, those attacks on AI models or browser extensions or whatever it may be, and detecting those in real time or near real time so you can stop the attack before they get to your sensitive information. If it's proprietary information in the data set that you're feeding into that model, then you want to make sure that you prioritize the security of that.
Makes sense. So you mentioned like you've been doing SBOMs for a while, now AI bombs. It seems like there's a bill of materials for everything.
Yeah. Yep.
What would you say makes the AI bomb different than SBOM and other bombs?
So when I was writing this, what stood out to me was what I'm calling trust boundaries, and maybe that's already a thing, but I learned about trust boundaries with AI models. And these are risks that exist between the different layers of AI infrastructure. This is between physical infrastructure like hardware and GPUs and things like that, and the data sets, the user input and output and stuff like that. So these are the newer visibility gaps that I think are unfamiliar to all of us. Like I said, a lot of AI is built on Kubernetes infrastructure, which we are familiar with, and we know how to secure that. But trying to defend against essentially a man-in-the-middle attack of an attacker who's trying to modify your data sets or change the output of your model, slightly similar to what we've seen with some machine learning threats as well. But that's where we need to focus our priorities for defending AI.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like I mean, it does seem like AI really shifts the threat model with these trust boundaries and kind of requires new detection techniques, new ways of thinking about how attackers could and probably will try to exploit AI products, agentic first customer experiences, what have you. And very much kind of aligns with what we're seeing, with our state of product security in the AI era. The report we just put out, we surveyed 400 CISOs, application security, product security, and DevSecOps leaders, and it was clear that AI really is the kind of biggest blind spot. And I was asked, what's the most interesting or surprising thing that came out of the survey, and it wasn't kind of one thing. It was that everyone's using AI, whether it's for development or they're building AI products and AI models, what have you. But that there's this like huge gap between the visibility into it and understanding the AI attack surface. So if 100% have AI generated code, it's 81% don't have full visibility into that. So that's essentially 4 out of 5 organizations are leveraging AI with some amount of shadow AI in there, some amount of ignorance of the risks that they're introducing. And AI, it kind of follows the familiar pattern where there's this adoption with all the opportunities, the competitive pressures, the excitement, the possibilities around the technology, and then the kind of security stresses that places on the org. I think the positives that we're seeing is that it is kind of from the start being integrated into existing security practices. So we see, product security that kind of owns both the secure design, so looking at the threat models, to how the code and applications are developed, to the pipeline, to the runtime, and now to include AI. They really kind of, from the start, being thought of in a holistic way. The causes for concern, though, are those kind of governance and security gaps, and that it really is kind of stressing that rubber band of adoption to security. So want to kind of transition to that gap and the topic of AI security and governance. And what do you think that needs to look like or should look like going into 2026?
So I think AI bombs are going to be essential, first of all, to helping us with visibility. Like I said, there is not a lot of AI regulation coming down from governments as of yet. There is the EU AI Act, but that's getting partially put into place. I think it's not fully completed until August 2027. That's when the whole regulation is going to be required in the EU. In the US, we're seeing state level start to implement or discuss regulations. And then there's several other countries all over the world who are working on AI regulations so they can help guide the governance of this new phenomenon. Well, like I said, though, I mean, we've been doing this cloud security thing for quite a while now, and it's not too dissimilar from that. So we're excited about AI and implementing it and how fun and different it can be and how useful it can be in security and things. But I think it's just a matter of taking a step back and implementing the security practices that we are all well familiar with. And we have plenty of other security regulations that we can abide by. There are frameworks from OWASP and NIST that we can use to help us to and that will improve the governance of AI for sure.
Yeah, it does seem like we're kind of learning from the lessons of the past in a good way. Like, you know, S-bombs, it took a while to get there, but even like we're talking about AI bombs, regulatory things aren't fully in place, but it seems like it's taking less time, which is cause for optimism.
Yes, absolutely. Like we've done this before, we've played this game before. It's just a matter of taking those right steps, I think.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So yeah, I do want to take, you know, we have 10 minutes left. I want to kind of open it up to some questions. Looks like we do have a couple, so I will shoot these over to you. So how should teams prioritize which risks or systems to address first?
Again, I think it's crown jewels. You need to prioritize first where your most important information is. Again, AI, you're feeding sensitive or proprietary or customer data into it. The healthcare sector, they're using LLMs and chatbots to help them record patient interactions or store data, help with diagnosis. So they need to defend that first and foremost. And then also business operations impact. Where does that exist with AI models? If this model goes down, is your chatbot that's used thousands of times a day by lots of end users, is that going to be an issue? Is your checkout cart going to go down without that AI model in place? So protecting crown jewels and business operations, I think, would be the most important priority in terms of risk.
Yeah, it seems like there's been a general consensus in the cybersecurity to move towards risk-based approaches, and kind of applying again those lessons to the realities of AI makes sense. Looks like we have one other question. So how do you see AI security governance evolving over the next 12 months? We might have touched on this a little bit, but
yeah, we did kind of talk about this a little. Like I said, we're starting to see some of those federal regulations come out. In the US, it's starting at the state level, but there's also been multiple executive orders over the last several years that have had some kind of mention about AI use as well. But it's going to take probably years for this to develop. I think just a week or two ago, the UN signed its first cybercrime treaty. There were 65 nations, a part of the UN, that signed this treaty to collaborate against e-crime, ransomware, and all of the typical things that we see every day beyond the nation state stuff. So I think we'll start seeing things like that, but it's going to take a while to get there. Each country, each organization needs to figure things out first, but there's plenty of options out there. Like I said, the OWASP creating OI bombs and things like that. You can threat model for AI models in your environment as well, like you said. So yeah, it's going to evolve quickly, but it's still going to take some time.
Yeah, and as it evolves, however it takes shape, I think, you know, having visibility, having an AI bomb, those are going to set you up well for whatever that regulatory compliance environment looks like.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's similar to what we've done and seen already. So trying to take care of these AI risks is just being proactive. You don't have to scramble to meet regulations when they do come down, and you are proactively defending yourself against some of these threats that are starting to pop up. But I mean, obviously, we expect them to get much more significant and common as attackers start to figure out how they can get into AI models and modify them too.
Yep, couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
All right, well, Crystal, I really, really appreciate your time. It's been great to have you, great to have this conversation and get your insights. Any closing remarks before we close it out?
I really appreciate you having us here. I'm glad that Cycode and Sysdig are on the same page with this subject. And like I said, hopefully we'll have that AI bomb out to all of the folks present here next week.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, so I invite anyone to check out the Sysdig report coming out next week. Cycode, again, we launched our State of Product Security for the AI Era report today, so check that out on our website. And thank you again for your questions and for joining us. Have a great day.
Great. Thank you.